Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at some selections from Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East.
Okay.
And specifically Volume 2.
All right.
And this is a really interesting book. It's got some kind of crazy stories in it. And we're going to be talking about some of the things that we think you might find really interesting.
Yeah. You know what really struck me about this volume is how it sort of goes beyond just, the teaching. It goes into the action. It shows the masters demonstrating this mastery over what we consider to be the laws of nature.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we get some pretty wild scenarios.
Yeah.
We've got a story about a master calming down a pack of fighting jackals by putting their heads right in his hands.
It really makes you question our usual assumptions about, animals and their behavior.
Yeah.
What kind of energy, what kind of understanding allows for that level of connection and that level of control. It hints at a potential within us that we don't even recognize.
Yeah, and then there's this one where the travelers are journeying for 5 days. They're expecting to meet the master at this destination, but he's already there to greet them. Wow. And he never left the starting point.
If we consider that possible, it challenges everything we think we know about time and space. Is it possible to transcend those limitations? Is there a deeper reality beyond our everyday perception?
And then weaving throughout all of these extraordinary events is the recurring theme of the Christ consciousness.
Right, and it's presented in a way that I think might surprise some listeners. It's not about adhering to a specific religion or worshiping a figure. Instead, the book describes it as this attainable state of being, a higher level of consciousness that's accessible to everyone.
Yeah, so it's like a state of being, this Christ consciousness. And they even give some specific techniques to achieve it.
Yes, and it's a fascinating mix of practices. We see visualization, we see the importance of recognizing the Christ within, and even this concept of merging with what they call the perfect God body.
So what is a perfect God body?
Well, it's a complex idea, but essentially they're pointing towards this state of complete alignment with the divine, a shedding of limitations and a realization of our true nature as part of something larger. It's not about becoming a specific person, but embodying the essence of pure consciousness.
So it's not like a perfect physical form, but a consciousness that's like aligned with the divine blueprint.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that our potential is far greater than we usually imagine. And the book doesn't shy away from offering a unique historical perspective.
Yeah.
They even suggest that this knowledge has been present throughout human history, lost and rediscovered.
Yeah, speaking of history, they suggest that America was known long before Columbus, and they attribute the failed attempts at discovery to a lack of faith.
It's certainly a different perspective on history. While there's no concrete evidence to support this, it's interesting to consider how our beliefs might influence our perception of reality and even our ability to achieve certain goals.
Yeah. And then we also encountered the idea of walking through fire unharmed by raising the body's vibration, which is another one of those. It's just like, what?
It challenges our understanding of the laws of physics. If it's possible to change our vibration, to align ourselves with a frequency that's beyond the reach of fire, well, what other so-called laws might be bendable or even breakable with a shifted consciousness?
Yeah, and they're not talking about blind faith here. They're talking about practical demonstration.
And there's a clear warning against the corruption of these teachings through individual interpretations and, the creation of rigid dogma. They seem to be advocating for a direct experience of truth rather than relying on someone else's interpretation.
So it's not about following somebody else's path, but forging your own based on your direct experience and your inner knowing.
That's how I interpret it. And this focus on personal experience translates into their critique of society as well.
Yeah. They didn't like commercialism.
Yeah.
They thought it was a trap and a form of bondage.
Right.
And predicted that it might self-destruct if not balanced with spiritual values.
Their concerns about commercialism, I think, resonate even more strongly in our current world. They seem to be cautioning against becoming enslaved by material pursuits and emphasizing the importance of aligning our actions with a higher purpose.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the values that drive our society.
Yeah.
And it's a timeless warning about the dangers of unchecked materialism and the need to find a balance between material and spiritual pursuits.
Absolutely. And their vision for the future emphasizes this balance. They describe a world where humanity recognizes its shared origin and brotherhood, leading to a heaven on earth characterized by inner peace and harmony.
That sounds pretty good. How do we get there?
Well, let's delve into their concept of creation next. They describe God creating the world through visualization, holding a mental pattern and speaking the word. It's all about the power of focused thought.
So they're saying that we can apply that same creative process, like forming a clear ideal, eliminating doubt, and persistently moving towards its realization.
Right. They're basically saying that we have the power to shape our reality through our thoughts and beliefs. The challenge lies in mastering this creative process and aligning it with our highest aspirations.
So how much control do we really have over our lives?
It's a great question.
If our thoughts and beliefs are that powerful, what does that mean for our personal responsibility?
This is where the book, I think, gets really thought-provoking. It's urging us to consider the power of our minds and the impact of our choices. It's suggesting we're not just passive observers, but active participants in creating our own reality.
So we're not just a product of our circumstances, but co-creators of our experiences.
That's the implication, and they don't stop there. They dive into the role of organized religion and suggest that it often obscures true spirituality with mystery and dogma to gain control over people.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
It is.
So they want us to question those established structures.
Yes, and to seek a more direct and personal connection with the divine. They point to the celestial realm, or seventh heaven, as a state of consciousness attainable by everyone, where we can commune with God and understand the true meaning of immortality. But they make it clear it's not about achieving some exclusive afterlife.
So it's not about going to heaven when we die, but it's about experiencing heaven on earth while we're alive.
Exactly. They even criticize the idolization of figures like Jesus, saying it's more important to recognize and embody the Christ consciousness within ourselves.
It's about embodying those qualities rather than just worshiping the messenger.
Precisely. It's about internalizing the message and expressing it through our actions, our choices, and our very way of being in the world.
Yeah.
Like they're urging us to become living examples of the teachings rather than just admirers of the ideal. And this emphasis on personal embodiment really comes through when they discuss ancient history and hidden truths.
Right. They talk about this hidden chamber in the Great Pyramid, the Bible in stone, that they say contains these ancient records detailing humanity's spiritual journey.
It's fascinating, right? What if there's a whole layer of history that's been hidden or lost? What if these records offer a different perspective on our past, one that challenges conventional narratives?
And they reveal the original name Israel, meaning the crystal or pure white race from which all other races sprang.
Now, it's important to note that this idea of a pure white race as the origin of all humanity could be interpreted as a potentially problematic idea, in our current understanding of race and unity.
Yeah.
However, it's still fascinating to consider the idea of a shared origin for all humans and how that might influence our understanding.
It does make you think about the narratives we've inherited and how they shape our perceptions.
Absolutely.
And they go on to say that portions of the Bible have been deliberately distorted to conceal this history and this chronological data.
It makes you wonder about the reliability of historical sources and, the motivations behind those who shape them. It encourages us to think critically and to explore alternative perspectives.
Yeah, definitely. And then we get to the large-scale spiritual gatherings where there are these 13 groups of spiritually awakened individuals who are tasked with spreading these teachings and guiding humanity back towards the Christ light.
It sounds incredible. The book mentions a specific event at sunset where, despite freezing temperatures, the participants radiated this intense white light and created an atmosphere of indescribable peace and beauty.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
It's like they're demonstrating that a collective shift in consciousness is possible.
Yeah.
If a group of individuals can radiate that kind of light and peace, what does that suggest about the potential for humanity as a whole?
Yeah, and they explain that fear is a vibration that attracts negativity, and they contrast that with this peaceful coexistence that's achievable through fearlessness and the recognition of our shared divinity.
That's a powerful message for our times.
Yeah.
They're basically suggesting that fear is a root cause of so much conflict and suffering in the world.
Yeah.
What if we could shift from a fear-based consciousness to one that's rooted in love and understanding?
There would be a big change.
It would be a radical transformation.
Totally. So do they give us any clues on how to do that?
Well, they do talk about prana, the cosmic life force.
Right. They explain that prana is not just the air we breathe, but it's a subtle energy that's accessible through inner breathing, or what they call soul breathing.
It's like they're describing a deeper level of breathing, a conscious connection to the life force that flows through all things. And they suggest that we can consciously assimilate this energy through focused attention.
So you're not just breathing deeply, but you're being mindful of your breath and intentionally drawing in this life force energy.
Precisely. And they emphasize that true mastery isn't taught but lived.
Mm.
They encourage us to emulate the thoughts, actions, and attitudes of the masters.
It's about embodying the principles, right? Like walking the walk.
Yeah, and they tie that to this idea of living from the soul, not the mind.
Okay, so what do they mean by that?
Well, they suggest that this shift in consciousness is key to accessing our true potential and living a life of purpose and fulfillment. It leads to clarity, harmony, and this natural unfolding of our life's purpose.
So much to think about. It really is.
Yeah, it really challenges our conventional understanding of, reality and our place in it.
Yeah, and this whole idea of living from the soul, not the mind. It's not just about understanding these principles intellectually, right?
No, it's about embodying them, allowing them to guide our actions and shape our experiences.
They talk about the soul being like this deeper source of wisdom and guidance, like an inner compass.
Exactly. They suggest that when we align with the soul, we tap into this level of knowing that goes beyond the rational mind.
Okay, so it's like trusting our intuition, following our heart, letting life unfold more organically.
Right? It's about surrendering to a greater intelligence, trusting that we're being guided towards our highest good.
It makes me think about those times in my life when things just seem to fall into place effortlessly. Was that my soul guiding me?
It's certainly possible. The book suggests that when we live from the soul, we experience a sense of clarity, purpose, and a natural unfolding of our life's path.
And it ties back to this idea of unity, right? Like we're not separate individuals, but interconnected parts of a larger whole.
Exactly. It's the idea that we're all drops in the same ocean, ultimately inseparable from the source.
And when we recognize that interconnectedness, it shifts our perspective. We
Yep.
move from competition and scarcity to cooperation and abundance.
Yeah, it's like we're all in this together. And our individual well-being is linked to the well-being of the whole.
So the masters are advocating for a shift in consciousness, from fear and separation to love and unity.
And they don't just present this as some kind of lofty ideal. They offer practical tools for achieving it, like the teachings about prana, the cosmic life force.
Right. They say that it's not just the air we breathe, but the subtle energy that we can consciously assimilate through focused attention and inner breathing.
It's like we're tapping into this universal energy source that's available to everyone.
And by cultivating this connection with prana, we enhance our vitality, expand our consciousness, and even influence the physical world around us.
It's powerful stuff.
But how do we do it? Like, what is inner breathing?
Well, they describe it as a deeper level of breathing. It's a conscious connection to the life force that flows through all things.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful of our breath,
Yeah.
noticing the subtle energy that accompanies each inhalation and exhalation.
So it's more than just filling our lungs with air. We're intentionally drawing in this life force energy.
Exactly. And they emphasize the importance of intention in this process. Where we focus our attention, we direct this energy.
So we're consciously choosing to nourish ourselves with this energy, aligning ourselves with a higher frequency.
And they suggest this practice can have a profound impact on our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. It's like we're tuning into this universal power source, a source of healing and transformation.
So they're basically talking about the power of consciousness to shape reality.
Exactly. They're reminding us that we're not just passive observers in this universe. We're active participants in its creation.
It's both empowering and challenging at the same time.
It is. It's empowering because it reminds us of our innate potential. But it's challenging because it calls us to step into this greater level of awareness and responsibility.
But ultimately, it's a message of hope. If we have the power to create our reality, we have the power to change it.
Absolutely. We have the power to heal ourselves, to heal our relationships, and to create a more just and harmonious world.
What a journey this deep dive has been.
It certainly has.
And it leaves us with a lot to think about. If you could access this ancient wisdom and higher consciousness, what aspects of your life would you transform? Until next time, keep diving deep and keep seeking that inner light.